So what I'm going to talk about, I think some of the issues that have been spoken about already today highlights there may be an environment which is pretty contentious for our clients and where they may be put at risk. And I am going to do an unashamed plug of Release. Has everyone heard of Release? Yeah, anyone not? Okay, nice response. So I want to tell you how we can help practically, and actually how you can help us challenge practices that we believe may be unlawful. Generally, we can help the clients on a regular basis. So Release runs a national helpline, as many of you will know. The helpline only operates for 20 hours a week, mainly because it's unfunded. So we just incorporate it into our work because we believe it's part of the core services of Release. It's manned by solicitors, paralegals, and expert drug advisors, including Gary Sutton, who some of you will know. What we provide advice on are criminal matters, employment and drug testing, the effects of a criminal record, welfare benefits. And in terms of welfare benefits, many of your clients at the moment will be going for assessments for their ESA, work capability assessments, and will be failing. If they are failing those assessments, call us. We provide representation to clients of services in London. We won't be able to do that through the helpline, but we will set up a referral service. And we have a 99% success rate in terms of getting clients back on ESA and getting backdated money in place. We also advise on housing matters. That's a particular concern in relation to new antisocial behaviour legislation that's currently before Parliament that will see someone evicted from their property if they are convicted of a drug-related offence, excluding possession-only offences. We also advise on antisocial behaviour more generally, including closure orders on properties, and we provide expert drugs advice. So Gary and his team can take on clients who maybe have been excluded from services, I'll talk about that a bit more in a moment, and negotiate with the service, try and find a way of getting the client back in a manner that the service finds acceptable and this client is still being supported. And if we can't help, we will find someone who can. So that's how you can contact us, national helpline. There's no 845 number, London number, because that's often cheaper. You can send in an email request. We usually respond between 24 and 48 hours. And we now have web forums on our beautiful new website, which has lots of harm reduction and legal advice on it. I suggest everyone goes and looks at it. So this is how you can help us. So one of the things that we've been working on is test case litigation. So this is essentially where we find a client who's been affected by per policies, per practice that we think reaches a level which is unlawful or illegal. And some of the areas we're specifically, but not limited to, that we're looking at are actions against the police, in particular stop and search. We have had a number of clients come through Release, mostly young people who are being stopped and searched repeatedly for low-level drug offences. And we are going to be taking police action against local forces in respect of that. So again, if any of your clients are being harassed by the police, let us know. It's not acceptable for someone to be stopped simply because they have a history of drug use and possibly a history of criminal convictions. So let us know and we can see if we can challenge it. Another area we're particularly interested in is strip search before arrest. We're seeing increasing numbers of people being detained by the police, usually as a result of the police either considering they have reasonable suspicion, that's a very low threshold in my view, or the person has been indicated by a sniffer dog. Sniffer dogs are wrong in 76% of cases, no drugs are found. And people can be actually detained, taken to local areas that are designated and strip searched, which is an incredibly humiliating experience. And also this can occur before arrest. So what we'd like to do is challenge that. There's no guidance. The PACE codes on police and criminal evidence don't actually contain clear guidance on how the police should act in some circumstances. We'd like to challenge that. Funding issues. This might be interesting to John. So many of you will know last year the national funding structure, at least the structure in England and Wales, with the pooled treatment budget, had a 20% calculation, which was related to the numbers exiting treatment in the previous year. So if you hadn't met a target. So if there had been a difference in the previous year and the year before, and numbers had gone down in the previous 12 months, you suffered a financial penalty as a service provider. We don't know if that will be adopted by local authorities in terms of the commissioning structure. If it is, we believe it's challengeable because it's developing a policy for funding based on clinical outcomes. We've discussed this with a barrister who specialises in challenges against the National Health Service, and so we're interested in any areas that may have that experience in the next financial year. Is everybody clear on that one? Yeah, cool. All right, and then policy decision related to treatment. If any of your clients are being forced to reduce their methadone scripts, which we've seen, to be fair, when the drug strategy first came out, we saw a lot of areas responding very quickly to that time-limited methadone statement that had been made by the Home Secretary, but actually wasn't in the drug strategy. That seems to have diminished slightly, but if it is going on and it is linked to policy, so if it is a policy of the service provider, it can be challenged. If it is simply a clinical decision, then it cannot be challenged. So we have to be able to demonstrate that this is common practice within an area. So if that happens, send them our way. Finally, therapeutic discharge. We've had a number of clients in the last 24, 36 months who have been discharged from services due to so-called bad behaviour. I think the threshold for bad behaviour is pretty low for some services. But even where it is behaviour where staff at a risk, etc., the service has a duty to ensure that they provide alternative support to the client, especially in relation to their methadone prescribing. So it is not enough for a client to be discharged from a service and for the service not to ensure that their methadone continues. They have to find ways of meeting that legal requirement. And we have a case at the minute which we're bringing against a service provider in London who discharged a client after a dispute for 3 months and did not provide a continued prescription. So that should hopefully be resolved within the next 12 to 24 months and will give us a decision. And once we have a decision on some of these situations, that decision then is binding on other service providers, and so it essentially stops bad practice in the field. The requirements that we need is preferably a legally aided client, so someone who's on benefits or low income. It means the case can be run. We don't have the financial resources to pay for this. The exception to that would be the funding situation, which would be the local service providers coming together and potentially setting up a fund to challenge that policy. We need to move fast. There's only 3 months in which to bring a judicial review, and that's where a judge will look at the decision of a service provider or an agency. It's less urgent in the stop and search cases or the strip search cases. We have anywhere between 1 year and 6 years, depending what course of action we take legally. And negligence, it's 3 years from the date when the person was affected by the decision or the service provider did not meet its duty. Finally, I'm nothing to do with law. I'm trying to cover my costs of how to get here today and how I got here today. At lunchtime, I will be selling t-shirts, Nice People Take Drugs t-shirts and cards. Jamie will be selling Support Don't Punish t-shirts. So come and get them while you can. And that's our details. Thank you.
Thank you, Niamh.